extremely important for the growth of this country. Madam Speaker, as a parliament, we have fallen short. Every time we've had a chance to deal with this matter with finality, we move in a hurry, we move with emotion, we don't do what's supposed to be done. We've amended the CDF Act so many times without getting it right. So, Madam Speaker, I believe that we can do this time round with a level head, a cool head, get it right. Let's entrench the constituency as a level of devolution. That's what the court is telling us to do. That if the ward is a level of devolution, can we entrench the constituency as a level of devolution so that it works out? Number two, Madam Speaker, members of parliament representing constituencies, stop going out saying the CDF is your fund. It isn't your fund. Members of parliament say, oh, my CDF cannot be touched. It is not yours. But you go out talking about it as if it's your fund. That's what the court is saying. They don't want members of parliament putting their hands in CDF. I agree with their right. Let's change the law to ensure that what the court is saying is not right is made right. We cannot come here and start saying, oh, judges did this. That is their role. Our role is to make law. Judges' role is to interpret the law. We can't keep abusing judges every time they do something against us. It's not the way you run a country. Madam Speaker, let's move with speed and ensure that the amendment that we're going to propose, like Honorable Kennedy said, clinically deal with NG-CDF. Don't put things like Senate oversight or this and that. Let me give you an example, Madam Speaker. There's a bill I brought to this House in the 11th Parliament. Every member almost liked it. It was about moving election date from August to December. But on the voting day, we couldn't raise 233. We had 227, twice. If members believe in this, let's put our heads together. Let's get a good law. Let's not blame everyone else apart from ourselves. It's us to blame. We are the lawmakers. Madam Speaker, I support and I hope that we can soon do this to ensure that the CDF is entrenched right inside the Constitution. I support.
I think second last I'll give the Honorable Member for Masinga, Honorable Mwalio, because the Speaker had given us, I've added another 10 minutes, so I think we have to close now because we had 1 hour.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for the opportunity to be able to speak about the NG-CDF. Since I was elected in Parliament in 2017, I've been a member of NG-CDF committee, and I have seen a lot. In that committee, we move doing some inspections in all the constituencies, and I think I have been able to go around in almost 100 constituencies. What I have seen, you cannot believe what the NG-CDF has done. For example, we've been to Mheshimiwa Bayer's constituency, whereby a school has been built, a 4-story building, 4 buildings, big, using NG-CDF. You think that you are in alliance and you go to that school, and it is all done by NG-CDF. You go to Awendo, and where the students were passing is a big river, and one day they were swept, I think 20 or 30 of them, by the water, and NG-CDF constructed a bridge to the school for the children to be safe as they go to the school. So somebody dreaming that NG-CDF can end is just cheating himself, because this is the lifeline of all the constituencies, needy students, and the people. This year alone in September, in my constituency, I had 60 students who had been called in the university, and they could not even be able to be admitted because they didn't have any school fees. So we had to recall them where they had been employed. 10 had been employed as house helps. We had to call them and pick them from where they are employed to be able to pay for them the startup fees to enter the university. 5 were employed looking after cattle. We had to pick them and take them to the university. Who could have taken those students to school if there was no money for NG-CDF? So I think the judges don't live in this country. So they should be told that surely they should be able to look around and see what NG-CDF had.
The Honorable Sirma, you're going to have the last bite on this.
So, now.
Honorable members,
Thank you.
I don't have that luxury to give one person more because of the time. It was 1 hour. The speaker added 10 minutes. That time is lapsed.
Put it on. All right. Mr. Speaker, thank you for the opportunity you have given me. Being the chair of the National Government Constituency Development Fund Committee of Parliament, I wish to thank the members who have contributed to this, and they have clearly shown that they mind about Kenyans, because Kenya is our country and we love it. I also want to thank the advocates of this House who gave pro bono service to this case. Mr. Speaker, I would say judges who dealt with this matter are failed Kenyans. And we want to say that they should have just resigned today so that they can go and explain, or they could go and face Kenyans so that they know the pain Kenyans are going through in their villages. Mr. Speaker, this fund is an equalizer to all other funding in this country.
The member from Marakwet West, what's out of order?
Out of order. Honorable Speaker, Honorable Sirma has made a very serious remark that the judges must resign today. Honorable Speaker, is it in order, knowing too well that the procedure for removal of judges from office, that the Honorable Sirma makes a remark to the effect that the judges who made the ruling must resign, knowing that the judiciary in this country is independent and there is a procedure for removal from office of a judge. Honorable Speaker, that remark must be withdrawn and should not be on record.
Of course, Honorable Sirima, you must withdraw that remark, if indeed you made it.
I said they have failed Kenyans, and if their conscience is right.
Order. Honorable Sirima, did you say the judges must resign for making this judgment? I said they should resign. Then did you say they must or should?
Should. I said they should, based on the consciousness of what they did against Kenyans.
Go ahead with your submission.
Yeah, Mr. Speaker, CDF is an equalizer of development in this country. There are sections of this country who have been left behind, but CDF has brought them to be equal to other areas. Mr. Speaker, this fund is audited by 6 institutions. So therefore, when they say there is theft, I think it's a very wrong notion. Mr. Speaker, the judges mentioned that the CDF fund account managers, their term in the constituency is based on the term of parliament of the member of parliament. It is wrong, and they got it all wrong, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, all what we know is that according to the Act, the fund managers are moved from one place to the other based on their performance in various areas. Mr. Speaker, also the mistake they have done is to say that we are dividing revenue based on the national cake of the country. We are only taking money from the national government section of the amount of money which are allocated to the national government. So, Mr. Speaker, all this is wrong, and we want to say the governors who have gone ahead to fund these cases against the CDF, Mr. Speaker, it is time we bite the bullet also. that we should also move a motion and amend the constitution to abolish these counties, because if there are people who are corrupt in this country, our governors, there is no governor who finishes his term without going through court as he goes home. So they have stolen and they have been found to be guilty in where they are. So, Mr. Speaker, it is time Kenyans thought about it and we amend the constitution, abolish the 47 counties and give us a lesser counties which are manageable with very few thieves. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Okay. Few thieves, no thieves. Next order.
Order number 10, report on the consolidated fund services expenditures for the supplementary estimates 1 for the financial year 2024-2025. Mover to reply.
Honorable Makali Mulu, you are to reply to this motion.
Yeah, thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I want to start by thanking all the members who contributed to this important motion. The motion on expenditures on the CFS, Honorable Speaker. And Honorable Speaker, just to remind the members, because I know it's a long time since we debated this, in the supplementary budget 1, the CFS expenditures, Honorable Speaker, the only item which changed was the item on pensions, where we were requesting that we get additional 23 billion to take care of the arrears and also take care of some amount which had not been factored in for civil servants who have retired. So I want to appreciate the members, but it's worth also noting, Honorable Speaker, the CFS expenditures in totality have been increasing year in, year out. And what is happening, Honorable Speaker, that is really trying to restrict our fiscal space in terms of getting money to spend on other important activities in the country. So even as I reply to this motion, Honorable Speaker, it is important that all of us as Kenyans, and more so under the leadership of Treasury, it is important that we very closely monitor what is happening with our CFS expenditures. And the highest expenditure in this area is the public debt. So issues of public debt, Honorable Speaker, continue to be issues of concern, issues of national importance, and I think as a House, we should be also putting our voice into this matter so that we allow more fiscal space in terms of expenditure. With those many remarks, Honorable Speaker, I beg to reply and once more appreciate all the input from the honorable members. Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. I do reply.
Makali Mulu, you want to come back?
Yeah, Honorable Speaker, I wanted to come back, and I want to, I'm standing on standing order number 53, Honorable Speaker, where I want to, 53, Section 3, where I want to request that we defer the putting of this question to another day, Honorable Speaker, if you allow. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, honorable members. The decision on this motion is deferred to the next time the matter is listed in the order paper. Next order.
Order number 11, motion, public petition on funds spent contrary to the provisions of Article 223 of the Constitution. Mover to reply.
The Honorable Mbai.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, this evening I stand to reply to the motion which was occasioned by a petition which came to our committee regarding expenditure on public funds under Section 223 of our Constitution. Mr. Speaker, this was done. We went, we listened to the petitioner, we listened to several witnesses, we did our investigations, and we brought the report to the House. Consequently, we moved a motion And Mr. Speaker, allow me to appreciate all the members who contributed to the motion and also finally gave it a broader adoption for the report. Mr. Speaker, the country lost over 400 billion shillings from the report we tabled, and the House, Mr. Speaker, adopted the motion, and that gave a broader adoption, because we have 15 members of the committee, and the House has over 300 members. So, Mr. Speaker, for the members to sit in the House and give time to discuss and adopt this report, Mr. Speaker, it has given it a wider strength to prosecute the issues going forward, because now it has been forwarded. It will be forwarded to the Implementation Committee. Mr. Speaker, as I wind up, I'm grateful for even the leadership of the House. They all contributed, and from both sides, and also they did very well. Mr. Speaker, I beg to reply.
Is Honorable Mbaye?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, Mr. Speaker, following Standing Order number 53.3, I beg we defer putting the question to another date.
Thank you so much, Honorable Mbaye. Honorable members, just like the previous motion, the decision on this particular motion will be made the next time this particular matter is listed in the order paper. Next order.
Order number 12, the Coffee Bill, Senate Bill number 10 of 2023, second reading, resumption of debate.
Honorable members, debate on this bill had commenced, it had been moved, it had been seconded, and the Honorable Mogaka was on his feet. I know that he's in the House. This is the coffee bill, and this is a chance for those who want to do work for coffee to stand up. Honorable Mary Massey, you want to speak to the coffee bill?
Oh, I was queuing for a different one.
Okay.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Okay. Honorable Ngusia? Honorable Gichimu, go ahead.
Mr. Speaker, thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to contribute to this coffee bill. Coffee bill is a very important, coffee is very important agricultural item.
Order. Honorable Mawade, who gave you the chance to speak? This chance is for the member for Honorable Gishimu of Gishugu.
Mr. Speaker,
You didn't even request for a chance.
I did. I've been waiting.
Order. Honorable Gishimu.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for confirming that this chance belonged to me. There is only one Honorable Gishimu member for Gishugu in this parliament, so I was wondering. But, Mr. Speaker, this is a very, very, very important legislation for the people of Gishugu and Kirinyaga at large. Honorable Speaker, I'm a coffee farmer myself, and I also represent very many coffee farmers in my constituency. It's one of the backbones and one of the main economic activities in my constituency, and that is why it is very, very important for me to contribute to this bill. Honorable Speaker, this bill, in part, but before I contribute, let me first of all say that this bill came before this House, or a bill similar to this came before this House in the 12th Parliament, and this House deliberated on this bill. We ably passed the bill with amendments, as having gone all the relevant stages of the lawmaking, and it was subsequently submitted to the Senate, where it died before the lapse of the last Parliament. And it was revived in the Senate, and actually it captured most of the issues that we were able to deliberate in the 12th Parliament. So it's a good opportunity now that it has come early enough that we be able to debate on it and pass it into law so that the coffee farmers in this country can benefit out of this bill and this law after it has been signed as an act of Parliament. Honorable Speaker, the establishment of the board is a very, very important aspect of this bill, which actually runs from section 4 to 22. But Honorable Speaker, while I agree with most of the provisions, I will be proposing an amendment to indicate that the nominees that are supposed to be nominated by the Council of Governors, who ought to have knowledge in coffee matters, also ought to be farmers. Because it is not defined what is knowledge in coffee matters. I might have just read a book about coffee, and that can make me a person who has a knowledge in coffee matters. So for the farmers to have better representation from the unions, from the Council of Governors, I believe those two nominees by the Council of Governors, on top of having knowledge in coffee matters, also ought to be farmers. Another area that I will also be seeking an amendment is to exempt the farmers who are appointed by the largest union of farmers or organization of farmers to have 3 years experience in management. That will lock so many farmers who can be qualified, because farmers are supposed to be, their experience is in farming. It is not in management. So, Honorable Speaker, that is an area that I feel we need to exempt that class of people, or farmers, so that they are not locked out of the board. Honorable Speaker, I'm also delighted to see that part of the functions of the board is on market intelligence and market promotions for coffee in the international market. And going through the mygovernment.co.ke, I've also seen an article whereby Keproba and AFA have already signed an agreement for export promotion and market intelligence in coffee matters. And that is a reform in the right direction towards promoting and helping our farmers in this country to be able to command the already established market, and also to create or to come up with new markets so that our farmers can be able to increase their earnings. Because one of the problems that we've been facing is that we have over-relied on the traditional markets in the coffee sector. It is the right time, we empower those agencies in this country who spend and use taxpayers' money like Keproba. Keproba was born out of merging of the Kenya Export Promotion Council and Brad Kenya, so that it can be strong enough to be able to market Kenyan products abroad, promote Kenyan products. And I think this is the high time that this agency is well funded so that it can take Kenya to the next level. Actually, in this country, Honorable Speaker, we have signed so many agreements. Yeah, we have signed the Kenya-EU trade agreements, the Kenya-UK trade agreements, but who is following up on these agreements to make sure that we utilize the chances that we have through this agreement so that we can be able to export as much as possible, build our forex, earn more money for our farmers. So I think this creates an opportunity for us, and especially in matters coffee, to have a body. And much as the board is also mandated in promotion and marketing of coffee, I think, and I will be proposing an amendment, that the 2% that will be levied, that will be paid by the buyers, at least a slice of it ought to go to export promotion in matters coffee. And I think this will really, really help our farmers in solidifying the existing market and also the emerging ones. Honorable Speaker, I will also be proposing an amendment that we delete Section 8 or Clause 8Q, whereby it is proposing that the Cabinet Secretary can also assign other functions to the board. That will be leaving a very open check to the Cabinet Secretary. We should have exhaustive functions that have been given to the board, but we cannot leave the Cabinet Secretary to assign other functions. We cannot further delegate that function. It's only Parliament which has, the Cabinet Secretary can only make regulations, but cannot be left to give the board other functions. Honorable Speaker, there are many, many other areas that I will be looking at, and I'm also happy that the budget for cooperative society has been capped up to 10%, so that the cooperative society do not also exploit farmers. Because some of the cooperative society charge farmers up to even 25% of the proceeds to go to the expenses. This is a reform towards the right direction, and this is a bill worth supporting. There are many, many other amendments. Because it's a lengthy bill, I will not be able to cover each and every clause, but I will be proposing amendments that are pro-farmer, that will help farmers, and that will also help farmers to be able to earn more out of their sweat of coffee, which has been invaded by cartels for many years. It is the right time, and I'm happy also the Capital Markets Authority have also taken its place to sanitize that space of the coffee exchange. I support, Honorable Speaker. Thank you.
Member for Embakasi South. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to contribute in this very important bill. It's way overdue in us putting back Kenya into the face or the competition of the coffee market. Let's consult. So, the formation of the Coffee Board of Kenya gives us an advantage, gives our farmers an advantage of being able to get a place. Not only can they hold their meeting, but also promote coffee and look for coffee market on behalf of the coffee farmers in the country. There are some points in this bill, though, that probably need a little bit of amendment and probably changing. Because on part 3, item number 23 talks about role of county government, and then A, it says, implement the national government policy relating to coffee. How can the county government implement the national government policy relating to coffee? That portion needs to be amended, as Mheshimiwa Geshomo has indicated a short while ago. Also, two additional items. I believe the licensing of a coffee farmer is not a bad idea, but the filing of the returns on a monthly basis is too demanding. It is putting too much on the coffee farmers. Let's allow for some of these policies to be generated by the board. Let's not micromanage the board. Having said that, thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, for giving me an opportunity to contribute to this very important bill. Thank you and God bless you.
Thank you. The Honorable Luyai of Saboti. Okay. The Honorable Oundo of Funyula.
Honorable Speaker, thank you for this opportunity. Allow me, Honorable Speaker, to make my contribution from 3 points of view. The first point of view, Honorable Speaker, is that I'm a consumer of coffee. I like drinking coffee. Secondly, I'm a Kenyan, and for many, many years, coffee was considered the black gold of Kenya. Thirdly, Honorable Speaker, allow me also to make a contribution on the strength of my membership in the Committee of Trade, Industry and Cooperative, in which a big chunk of this bill is going to be domiciled, so to speak. And Honorable Speaker, let me also take this opportunity to state that recent studies have suggested part of Funyula constituency and part of Ugenya are suitable for coffee plantation, coffee growing. And probably even the coffee grown in those areas could be of much more value and of higher quality compared to the coffee grown in Kirinyaga, where my good friend comes from. Honorable Speaker, we must say it is long overdue to have a standalone bill or act of parliament to regulate the coffee sector. The coffee sector has been on a down spiral for many, many years. And it's indeed important that this bill comes through. And I also commend members from the so-called Mount Kenya region, the Murima, for having spearheaded this agenda since the 12th Parliament. And therefore, Honorable Speaker, I just want to make a few comments here and there in respect of the bill. First of all, Honorable Speaker, the bill essentially is an act of parliament to provide for the establishment of Coffee Board of Kenya and the Coffee Research Institute, but more importantly, to provide for the roles of the national and county government, the regulation, development, and promotion of the coffee industry, and for connected purposes. Honorable Speaker, the bill has provisions that are going to be cumbersome. There are provisions in this bill that are going to be onerous to the coffee farmer and any player in the coffee sector. Yes, it's good to regulate, but Honorable Speaker, any form of overregulation kills the spirit and intent of the business. It will be necessary to relax some of the provided provisions here to such an extent that we make it an asset, since it's already an established industry, let it grow. whatever the so-called cartels, the so-called malpractices, Honorable Speaker, are a creation of human being which you can cure by prayers by the Almighty God. Honorable Speaker, first of all, we start with the problem of definitions under Clause 2. For example, Honorable Speaker, coffee grower is defined as a person who cultivates coffee in Kenya. Is linked to a licensed pulping station and may be for purposes of licensing, include a cooperative society, coffee union, association, or an estate. What happens, Honorable Speaker, if I grow coffee as an ornamental crop? Does it mean that then it will be, I'll have to register, or if I just grow it for purposes of my own consumption? Honorable Speaker, I also have issues with Clause 8, and I thought whoever the co-sponsor has been here, Clause 8, and this concerns the composition of members of the board. In Clause 8B2, it says those are elected under Clause Section 7, 1E and F, which are the two people for smallholder coffee growers, and F, and the largest association of estate growers. They say that person is only required to have a certificate of secondary education. Honorable Speaker, yesterday, there was an article in the newspaper, I think Daily Nation, from Kipra, which bemoaned that the poor productivity in the cultural sector is simply because the sector is dominated by persons of low academic qualification or educational levels. Honorable Speaker, we will not cure the malady, the malaise, the challenges in the coffee sector if we again entrench the stereotype that only people of low educational level who can participate in agriculture. We must open it up and probably enhance the level, because quite a number of MPs here are coffee growers and are fairly educated, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, again, there are quite a number of, when you go to Clause 15, which talks about the recruitment of the Chief Executive Officer. I would have imagined that should be the collective responsibility of the board, so to speak, as a corporate body, instead of having that responsibility being undertaken by the boards of directors in their individual capacity or severally. Honorable Speaker, again, these are the areas that we need to move amendments. Honorable Speaker, in the absence, again, when you go to Clause 21, in the absence of the Chief Executive Officer, the documents of the company ought to be signed by the company secretary in the first instance, or in the absence of the company secretary, probably then a person appointed by the board. Honorable Speaker, when you look at the roles of the county governments, again, we are now in the constitutional moment, as was stated in the CDF Act, requiring the a member in the county government to collaborate with law enforcement agencies to enhance security in the coffee growing area. It cannot work because a CEC, an extension officer or employed by the county government, cannot direct members of the National Police Service to undertake any service. Honorable Speaker, recently we passed here the county government uniform licensing bill that has to go back to Senate for mediation. It has got very elaborate procedures on licensing various businesses and various activities at the county level, and that's cuts across the entire country. Honorable Speaker, I would imagine any form of licensing should therefore follow the procedures set down in the bill to avoid duplication and to avoid granting, in some instances like Clause 25, discretion to a county executive member to issue a license or to deny a license. Honorable Speaker, Clause 30 provides that the board may license a laboratory. I am of the considered view, Honorable Speaker, that the board has no capacity to license a laboratory. The body authorized to license or accredit a laboratory is Kenya National Agricultural Services, KENAS. So obviously that amendment has to be done. Honorable Speaker, if you go through the various clauses of the bill, provides that the grower, the seller, the what, will be submitting returns every month. Honorable Speaker, this is cumbersome and necessarily too expensive. If you understand the coffee auction process, the coffee processing process, Honorable Speaker, requiring all actors to submit returns every month is cumbersome, it is not workable, and you'll have repetitive data that offers no value to statistics. Would therefore probably suggest in the committee of the whole House on the issue that probably they do it on a quarterly basis or any other frequency that the Cabinet Secretary, in consultation with the Council of Governors, might decide, might direct. Honorable Speaker, I'm happy there's the traceability component. I'm happy there is the issue that if there's has to be any form of blending, then it must be very clearly stated. Honorable Speaker, the coffee of Kenya. So any form of blending that devalues or dilutes the taste of coffee must be stopped completely. Honorable Speaker, let me thank whoever is involved. We will make amendments to make it far much better so that we have a better bill with us. With those few remarks, Honorable Speaker, I support the bill.
The Honorable Member of Parliament for Nandi, the woman rep for Nandi.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for giving me the opportunity to contribute to this very important bill on the floor of this House today. Honorable Speaker, I must state that Nandi County is a coffee growing area from a long time. And Honorable Speaker, if you ever happen to visit my house, there is one coffee tree that is used as a flower but produces very good quality of coffee when harvesting time comes, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, it is something that had ceased existing in some parts of Nandi that used to do very well in coffee because of the issues of the unpredictable prices and the lack of structures in the cooperatives and the selling of the coffee previously, Honorable Speaker. But Honorable Speaker, especially being the woman rep for Nandi, Honorable Speaker, and being keen on development and being keen on empowerment of women, we have a vibrant program called Mama na Kahawa. And Honorable Speaker, we distribute coffee seedlings. And in the first phase, Honorable Speaker, we distributed 100,000 coffee seedlings to women in Nandi County to be able to plant the coffee seedlings in small scale. Honorable Speaker, we are very ambitious this year and we are already propagating coffee, 0.5 million seedlings to be distributed for the planting season of May, Honorable Speaker. And Honorable Speaker, that brings me to the point that this particular bill has come at a very good time, Honorable Speaker, and it is a very important bill, Honorable Speaker, regarding for the farmers of coffee. Honorable Speaker, coffee has been called the gold in this, the black gold, Honorable Speaker. And it is given that name, Honorable Speaker, because if you look at the earnings of coffee, Honorable Speaker, you cannot compare it with earnings from other crops, Honorable Speaker. They are fairly okay, but the coffee one, Honorable Speaker, is very good. Honorable Speaker, this bill has come at the right time so that we can be able to sort out the teething problems that we have in the coffee sector. So that, Honorable Speaker, we can be able to then ensure that the farmers of coffee in this country, Honorable Speaker, are able to earn as much money as the coffee fetches outside there, Honorable Speaker. This bill, Honorable Speaker, with the provisions that has, of course, with a few amendments, Honorable Speaker, is able to help us go ahead and strike a balance between the price of the cherry that the farmer gives to the cooperative, Honorable Speaker, during collection, and the cost of the coffee in the cup, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, it's surprising that a single spoon of coffee, Honorable Speaker, is costing us more than 400 shillings in the cafes, Honorable Speaker. But the farmer who actually tills the land, who procures the seedling, who actually tends to the crop, who actually goes ahead and pick the cherry, and of course, Honorable Speaker, is sure to take care of the cherry, Honorable Speaker, all the way to processing, is earning 1% of what one spoon, Honorable Speaker, of coffee is costing. And Honorable Speaker, looking at this bill and the provisions that herein, it is clear, Honorable Speaker, that we are going to bridge the gap between the coffee, the cherry, and the coffee in our cups, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I'm very happy about the direct settlement schemes that is actually properly anchored in this particular bill, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, we've had a problem with our farmers waiting for so long for their money after the coffee has been sold. And I'm happy, Honorable Speaker, that with this bill, we are going to ensure that a farmer is paid immediately the coffee is sold, Honorable Speaker. And Honorable Speaker, this is a move that will get our farmers out of the circles of debts and loans, Honorable Speaker, that you are always asking for loans to pay farmers, and when the money comes, you are actually paying loans, and the farmers wait longer. And I'm pleased with that, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, for a very long time, we've been witnessing issues of theft of coffee either on the road or in the storage, Honorable Speaker. And I am happy that this particular bill gives us a police unit that is able to guard this coffee, whether in the store or the warehouse or when it is on transit to where they are going to be sold, Honorable Speaker. And Honorable Speaker, this will help us to cut the organized crime, I would say, because when you follow the trail of the stolen coffee, it ends up somewhere, and that somewhere, Honorable Speaker, happens to be someone who deals with coffee anyway in the end. So I am very pleased with that. Lastly, Honorable Speaker, I am happy about the introduction of a common structure. The common structure, Honorable Speaker, will help us manage the coffee sector properly and make sure that we are able to run it smoothly. Honorable Speaker, you are aware that the cooperatives in this country that deal with coffee, even the one in my village, as small as the structures are, as small as the institution is, keep and handle a lot of money. But you find that this particular cooperative does not even have an accountant, a proper accountant. There's a volunteer who just volunteers to do the math using a book that they have just drawn some lines in between it. And they also don't have auditors. Auditors that should be able to audit these accounts and be able to protect and take care of the farmers when the money hits the accounts of these cooperatives. And Honorable Speaker, we need that. I am happy about that particular part. And the proper records of farmers, especially for my county. We do not have a comprehensive record of the number of cooperatives that are handling coffee, and we have coffee being sold through those cooperatives. Honorable Speaker, that tells you we are also losing a lot of revenue because of that lack of data in that particular sector. I am also happy about the quality of coffee standardization, Honorable Speaker, not really standardization, but enhancing, because we have provisions here, Honorable Speaker, that will see to it that at least some studies and the mixing of the coffee, Honorable Speaker, will be looked into so that we have very high quality coffee coming from our farms and our people are able to get value for their farming. So, Honorable Speaker, I support this particular bill, albeit the amendments that we need to make, Honorable Speaker, because I noted with concern that this coffee industry is an industry that evolves every other time. It's an industry that actually needs a lot of expertise. It's an industry that needs people who run it, who understand what happens, and actually are professionals. Honorable Speaker, I support, or rather I will also be supporting the amendment on the qualifications, Honorable Speaker, because if we want to reap very good and very well from this sector, we must also equally invest in it. Investing in it with our professionals, ensuring that the people that we send there or the people that we second there in those boards, Honorable Speaker, are able to handle the issues of the coffee farmers. They are able to handle the emerging issues in the coffee sector so that our people can fetch the best prices and they can be able to do better coffee farming going to the future. So, Honorable Speaker, I support this particular bill with those amendments that will be coming through. I thank you, Honorable Speaker.
MP for Saboti, Luai. Honorable Luai.
Yes, thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I rise to support this bill that has emanated from the Senate, which means it touches on the county government. And then the Honorable Speaker, coffee is one of those crops that have made agriculture to be the backbone of the Republic of Kenya in terms of the economy, but due to mismanagement, agriculture is now being one of the poorest performing areas of our economy. And Coffee Board is one of those institutions that are supposed to help us revitalize this very important industry. We come back to the global market. Honorable Speaker, from the functions that have been outlined in this bill, the board will now regulate and promote the development of this coffee industry. There exists several of these institutions in this country. In fact, the other time we did amalgamation of all these boards into what we now call the Agricultural Food Authority. And now we are even thinking going back to their respective. We amalgamated coffee, we amalgamated the sugar, tea, pyrethrum, cashew nuts, and what have you, into one body called AFA. But you can see their independent boards are also seeking their autonomy so that they are regulated differently. We cannot amalgamate crops that makes agriculture the backbone of our economy into one body that is susceptible to cartels, that is susceptible to mismanagement, and eventually losing out on agriculture. Honorable Speaker, I come from a highly agricultural area of Trans Nzoia, and the farmers are becoming disillusioned every other day. I have a farmer friend who used to grow maize in his large tract of land. Later on, the maize was not performing well because of the cartelism. He tried to put sugar cane. Of course, there is also cartels in the sugar. He uprooted. He started growing tea. He went to Napier grass, surprisingly. So he has been shifting from one crop to another. Of course, trying to make a kill out of farming, and successfully. He tries also coffee, you find there are also cartels there. So there is cartelism in our agriculture across all the crops. And when I see such bills that try to regularize, I see an iota of hope that Kenyans are now waking up to the reality that we cannot compete globally. Kenya is no longer a global destination for some of these crops, and we've been overtaken by other countries. Why? Basically because they've been able to regularize the industry. We have well-registered farmers, database, proper linkages, well-coordinated boards, proper surveillance, with also compliance to the laws and relevant policies. This one basically gives the market out there a lot of confidence in the country. And of course, the market is looking for a better regulated industry. When we look at what is happening across the borders, we see other countries are performing better in areas that we were number one. And we have been overtaken. People have found new ways farming. People are going into mechanized farming, and we are still into subsistency. So, Honorable Speaker, it is a high time that we need to refocus. Agriculture is still the backbone of the Republic. We cannot stay and leave our agriculture to the global market forces, and eventually will be pulled out of the market in terms of the agricultural products. So, Honorable Speaker, I support the regulations of the coffee, establishment of the coffee, and even the linkages with the county government. Coffee has been there, of course the boards have been there, but the county governments did not envisage where agriculture will be devolved, and therefore they be part and parcel of the legislation at the county level. And therefore it is important to provide linkages between the national boards, what happens at the national level, and what goes on, because basically county governments are in close touch with the farmers. We see knee-jerk reactions to issues that affect farmers, but when we have a regularized board that is properly linked to the local structures of the county government, Honorable Speaker, will be putting some hope to the farmers. And these crops, especially sugar, where I come from, sugar has just become a political fodder. Every time you are either going home, you are getting elected by talking about sugar, Mumia's sugar, or you'll be going home because you've not talked about it. So it's just become a political fodder. Nothing much. In fact, leaders tend to leave it that way, so that they use it for politics for time immemorial. It has always been used for politics, and there's no sight. There is no solution in sight. So, Honorable Speaker, I beg to support and even encourage our colleagues to improve in other crops, not just coffee. We have tea. Farmers who are suffering across the country, Kenya Tea Board. We have pyrethrum. People don't know that pyrethrum is a very major crop in this country. We have cashew nuts at the coast. We have sisal. We have maize that is almost now leaving us. We are now a net importer of maize when we are supposed to be an exporter. Brazil has done so well in these crops. Is there also a way that we can learn from these the South American countries that have done so well? Brazil, Chile, Argentina, they are doing so well in these areas of maize, coffee, and all that. These are some of the crops that were during the slavery period when the Americans were selling coffee and the sugar to the Britons. And the Britons, on the other hand, were giving them the slaves. So this is one of the oldest crops. They were actually one of those crops that were being used in the transatlantic slave trade. The trans means triangular. So when the Britons were giving the slaves, the Americans were giving the coffee and the sugar, and us Africans were giving them the slaves. As bad as it looks, but that's how it used to be. And this is an important crop that has been there since time immemorial. I beg to support. Honorable Speaker, thank you.
The Honorable Kaguchia John.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. I appreciate this opportunity. Honorable Speaker, the issue of coffee is such an important issue to the Republic of Kenya, as we all are aware that coffee is one of the major